This is Darius, the Professor Wise, host of Wise Words with Darius. Thank you.
Some of you have been told that you're not tall enough. Some of you have been told that you're not skinny enough. Some of you have been told that you're not smart enough. Some of you have actually been told that your skin color is not the right color. You've all been misdiagnosed.
Then it hit me. It's not hearing the information that matters. It is the application and the implementation of that information that makes the difference.
Yes.
Good afternoon, good evening, guys. How are you? This is Darius, the Professor Wise. I'm so excited and glad that you joined me today. This is episode number 1. I guess we can call this season 2 for Wise Words with Darius. So thank you for joining me. I'm so happy to be here at my new home at WBGR, coming to you live every Monday night from 8:30 to 9:30. And we're just going to have a good time. This is something that I'm really excited about. And I want you to understand just in the beginning what we're going to be doing on this show. This is a journey of transformation. So I want you all to understand that this is not going to be something that it's going to be one show and everything else is going to be different every other show. We're going to take a journey together. And the mission of this and the purpose of this is for us to start to think ourselves into our ideal situation, to think ourselves into that place that we want to be. I want to share with you, each week, just some principles, some wise words that could help you start to understand and get control of your phenomenal mind. And that is what I'm really excited about. Just kind of tell you a little bit about me for those who are not familiar. My name is Darius, the Professor Wise. I will be your host every week. And we will have guests that will come on that's going to share their life experiences and some of the things that they've gone through and how they've been able to gain control and manage their thoughts and their mindset to get them in situations that they want to be in. I am also the proud author of my first book, What Are You Thinking? How to Become More Intentional, Deliberate, and Conscious with Your Thoughts. And I do encourage all of you to get a copy of the book. And not just because it's my book, but also a lot of the things that we're going to go through over the show are in the book. So it is a good guide for you to kind of follow along and join in on the conversation with the show. And on Facebook Live, we do have a group called #WiseWordsWithDarius. This is just a place where I want us to be able to go and continue the conversation after the show. So I want us to be able to have a space where we can go and finish the conversation, and anything that you have that you want to share, definitely make sure that, you go to the page, join the page, so that you can, be a part of the conversation. Today, let's just talk about, it's Monday. And first I want to say happy Monday to you. But it's Monday, it's the beginning of our week. Now here I'm in the DMV area. It's a little rainy today, but this is the beginning of the week. I love that we're doing the show on Mondays so that we can get your week going in the right direction. We're just coming off the weekend. I know how a lot of people are. Sunday night, we stressed out. We're like, got to go to work tomorrow. So we want to get the week kicked off right. The mission of the show is just to offer some thought-provoking, wise words, and success principles that can help you become your best self. That is a journey. That's not one show and we're done. That's a journey. I believe that if we knew why we made certain decisions, then we would have less regrets. And that's one of the keys that we want to get to. We want to get to the point where we're in the position that we want to be in. We don't have the regrets. We understand why we're making the decisions that we make. I am a thought provoker. That's what I consider myself to be. A lot of people want to say I'm an inspirational speaker and things of that nature, but I'm a thought provoker. And I am just here to provoke some thought. I want you to challenge some of the thoughts, challenge some of the beliefs that you have, and see if you can see things a little differently. See if what you've been doing and the way that you've been thinking can be challenged, or if you even know why. So today, what I want to talk about, I want to keep things in line with like how the book is set up. Today is the first episode here at WBGR. Really excited about that. And I wanted to align today's show with chapter 1 in the book. So if you have your book, we're going to actually talk about the chapter, Who's Responsible for Your Life? Like, who's responsible for your life? I want to talk about this today because those that have the book have really been coming back to me saying, Darius, you know what? Chapter 1 kicked my butt, or chapter 1 was such a wake-up call. And I wanted to have an opportunity for us to share some of the things that chapter 1 talks about and what's discussed in the first chapter of the book. So the first chapter is who is responsible for your life? So let's talk about this. And if you hear, if you are listening, you can always make sure, again, comment, join the conversation so we can talk about these things. But if I asked you the question, who is responsible for your life, what's your answer going to be? Like, what's your answer? What would you say? Who would you say is responsible for your life? Most people, after they think about it, because it's really a no-brainer type of question, most people would say that they are, right? So if you take a minute, you seriously ask yourself who's responsible, you're going to say that you are. Here's where I want to challenge some things. If it's you, are you doing everything that you can to be your best? Because if you're responsible for your life, one of the things that happens is people will, if things are not going their way, they start to blame other people. They start to take it and take responsibility off of themselves and put it on somebody else. So when you think about who's responsible for your life, the answer to the question is you. And if you want your life to play out a particular way, if you want your life to work a certain way, you have to take 100% responsibility of your life. And that means everything that happens in your life. And it's not just the good things, it's the bad things too. Now, I know a lot of people will say, Darius, but I didn't have any control over this event that happened, right? I didn't have any control over the fact that I was in a car accident, or I didn't have any control over the fact that I lost my job. I didn't have any control over any of these events that happened that put me in this situation, right? That sound familiar? A lot of people will say, I didn't have any control over that. And to a certain extent, I agree. There are going to be events that happen in our life. There are going to be events that happen in our life that we don't have any control over. There are going to be things that happen that we cannot foresee happening. There are going to be events that turn out to be things that are not things that work in our favor. Those are things that are going to happen. Taking 100% of responsibility for your life doesn't mean that you're going to have control over all those events. What it simply means is that when something happens, you act like you did. Act as if. Act as if you did have control over the event. Act as if you were responsible for that event. Now, this was hard for me. Growing up, there were things that happened, and I always would try to look for who was responsible for something happening to me, right? We always try to look outside of ourselves because that's really how we're conditioned. We're programmed to think in a way that if something happens that's negative, it's something outside of us that's actually taking place. And here's where I want to challenge your thinking. Here's what I want to challenge your thinking is that it's not necessarily somebody or something outside of you that is responsible for what's happening to your life, to you and into your life. There are things that are going to happen that we need to understand that are not just because we are in the wrong situation or wrong position, but more so that these are things that may be events that we need to have happen in order for us to get to the position that we need to be in or get to the place where we need to be. So instead of looking at whenever these events that don't go our way happen, instead of looking at them as negative events or things that put us in negative or bad situations, the way we need to look at some of these events is that now we're in a situation where we have an event that happens, and that event, if we change how we think about it, if we change the way that we look at how the event affected us, and change how we look at what that event means, then we can change the course of how we navigate around that event. So here's the equation I'm going to give you. And I use this all the time. It's in the book. But I use this equation all the time. This is one of the things that I share with people when I go and I speak. It's E plus R equals O. Now, some of you that follow me and heard me speak before, you've heard this before, and I use it all the time. E plus R equals O. So we're in a situation where we're now going to step up. We're going to take 100% responsibility for our life. An event happens. Something takes place. The E is that event. But the event by itself is not what actually determines what happens in your life. Or in the equation, the O, which is the outcome. So the event does not automatically equal the outcome. The E, the event, plus R, which is your response, is what equals the outcome. So when there is an event that happens, you may or may not have any control whatsoever over that event. But when the event happens, your response is going to be what determines the outcome. So now we have this event. Something goes on. I'll give you an example. Earlier this summer, back in June, I think it was, I was working as a software trainer, and I went to work. It was a Monday, like today. I went to work, regular Monday, I'm coming in, ready to do what I need to do for the day. So I come into work, and I'm there for a little while, and my boss calls me into his office. He calls me into his office. I go in, and when I go in, young lady that works in HR is sitting in his office. So I know who this young lady is. I know where she works, right? And so she's sitting in his office when I walk in. And when I sit down, they ask me to take a seat. I sit down at the table, and they begin to tell me that they're abolishing my position. Wow. Woo. So now here I am, Monday morning, no clue whatsoever. They're abolishing my position. Now, that simply means I'm being let go of, right? So they're letting me go. That was a huge event, right? That was a major event that just took place. The outcome was going to be based on my response. How was I going to respond to this event to get an outcome that I would want? Now, at the time, you got to think about it. I'm married. I have a beautiful wife, my wife, Allison. We have 4 kids. 2 of them right now at this moment are in college. One of them is out of college. He's 25. But then I have a 12-year-old. We have a 12-year-old as well. So now we have 4 kids. 3 of them really that are still under our wing that we're taking care of. I just lost my job. How should I respond to that? Most people are going to react and they're going to panic. Most people are going to go off and say, well, what am I supposed to do? They're going to start hunting for other jobs. They're going to panic and not really know what to do. We heard stories. We heard stories when people go postal or they come back and they do all these crazy things at their job once they get fired or something like that. Those are reactions to an event. I was very conscious though. I I wanted to make sure that I got the outcome from that I wanted, not somebody else wanted. So I had been working on building my mindset for years and understanding and not being so emotional. So when they told me that, I probably shocked them a little bit. Because when they told me that they were abolishing my position, basically letting me go, I told them, great. I was actually excited. It was a little scary, but I was excited. I was okay with that unknown fear, right? The fear of the unknown. But I was excited because I had been working on me for many years. I had just finished writing the manuscript for my book. I had been doing some speaking engagements around the country, and those things, my business was growing outside of the job. So I had already started to put myself in a position where I could flourish from whatever it is that I wanted to do outside of that. So my response was one of excitement and one of, now I get to do what brings me passion, what brings me joy every day. So I didn't react in a way where I just kind of panicked and did something that I would have regret for later. So remember earlier, I said that we understand why we make certain decisions, we will have less regret. So I don't have any regret for my decision and how I responded. Here's the thing though, most people will react as opposed to respond. They will react instead of respond. And reaction doesn't take any thought. When you react, what your brain does, it says, okay, what happened the last time we were in an event like this or very similar to this? How did we react then? Right? So you go through this event, your brain says, let me find in our memory, let me find an event that we went through that was similar, and then we're going to just react the same way. Now, a response, on the other hand, the response says, let me slow down, let me breathe, let me pause, and let me think about what I want to come out of this event happening. So when you react, you don't think. It's unconscious. You do it automatically. It's like being on autopilot. But when you actually respond, that means you're going to take a minute or two and you're going to think about what you want the outcome to be. And then you will actually respond or take actions that will lead to you getting the outcome that you desire. So when I was told that they were letting me go from my job, I was excited. And what I did was immediately I called my wife and I let her know what happened. But at the same time, then I started to take actions towards finishing my book. I started to take action on and really building my business and building my speaking career. And from that, so many opportunities came because of the response that I had to that situation. So here's what I want you to think about. Whenever there's an event that you have in your life, under the pretense now that we're moving forward, we're taking 100% control of our life, because we know now that we are responsible for our life. It's no one else's job. It's no one else's responsibility. It's ours. So whenever an event happens, whatever that event may be, big or small, we're going to take a minute and respond to the event in a way that we can get the outcome that we want, the outcome that we desire. When you respond that way, it does give you more control over your life. Still, you have to let go of the fact that you don't have control over the event, because that's not always going to be the case. But you have control, 100% control over that response that you have in order to get you the outcome that you desire. So think about it. Write this down. E plus R equals O. Make note of that and start to implement that into your life and be conscious of it. So whenever you have an event that takes place, instead of you just instantly reacting, having that knee-jerk reaction, take a minute and say, hold on, okay, this just happened. What do I want to be a result or an outcome for that and then develop what your response is going to be. So think about that. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
How many of you, by show of hands, are here because you're looking to be inspired? Okay. How many of you are here because you would like to be motivated? Okay. Your mind has two parts. There's the thinker and there's the prover. The thinker thinks and the prover proves.
Some of you have been told that you're not tall enough. Some of you have been told that you're not skinny enough. Some of you have been told that you're not smart enough. Some of you have actually been told that your skin color is not the right color. You've all been misdiagnosed.
It's not hearing the information that matters. It is the application and the implementation of that information that makes the difference.
Yeah.
Welcome back, guys. So now we're looking at taking 100% responsibility for our life. We're looking at being the ones in control. Now, with that, this is something else that I want to share with you today. When you take 100% control of your life and you're the one that's stepping up to the plate to make sure that you get out of life what you want, that means that you can't blame someone else. You can't blame, you can't make excuses for why you are where you are or why things are going the way that they're going. Because when you make an excuse or you blame someone else, what that does is now you say, this person, this event is now responsible for my life, is now responsible for where I am in my life. So you have to also keep in mind, it's not just how you respond, it's also how you step up when there's something going on. Because here's the truth. If things are going great in your life, things are going exactly the way that you want, you are going to shout to the heavens. You're going to tell the world all the great things that are going on in your life. And you're going to take responsibility for those things happening. But what do you do when it's the opposite? What do you do when things are not going the way that you want? What do you do when things are not going as you expected them to go or how you planned for them to go? This is the challenge. See, the challenge is not when things are going good. The challenge is when things are not going our way, because that's when we start to blame. That's when we start to make excuses. That's when we start to complain. And then we're not stepping up on that soapbox like we did when things were good, claiming all the accolades and taking in all the praise for all the good stuff that's going on in our life, right? See, now at this point, we're looking for somebody to blame because it can't be our fault. It can't be because of us. Because I'm doing everything I need to be doing. This thing over here happened and just threw me all off. Have you been there? I mean, have you been in that situation where you are, in your mind, you're doing everything that you should be doing? Something happens, throws all that off. Now you're off track. Now you're going in a different direction in your life. Now things are not going as planned originally. And when that happens, are you saying, okay, what can I do? What did I do to kind of get off track? What can I do to get back on track? Right? That's the response that gets us the outcome that we look for, that we desire, is what can we do to get back on track? What can I do, or what did I do to analyze what we've done to get ourselves back in the position that we want to be in? So this equation that I'm sharing with you tonight is just that wake-up call. That's that snap that gets you back into your conscious thinking of, okay, I have to make a response. I have to have a response. When you complain about it, when you have that type of reaction, or you're pointing the finger or you're blaming, when you complain about something, here's something I want you to know. This is kind of my tweetable moment right here. When you complain about something, what you're actually saying is that you know, you're very aware of a better situation that's out there in the world than the one that you're in right now. Think about that. When you complain, you are recognizing and acknowledging that there's a better situation that's out there than the one that you're in. Y'all get that? Did you get that? So now when you complain, think about the fact that, all right, I acknowledge that there's something better. There's a better situation that I want to be in. Instead of the one that I'm in, that I'm currently in, there's a better situation for me. There's another situation that I'd rather be in than this one. So complaining just recognizes that that's there and that you understand that. This is done unconsciously most of the time because most of us don't take any action on it. We just complain thinking that it's going to get better. But it never gets better when you complain. It never gets to the point where you are feeling good about the event that happened until you take the action that is necessary to get the outcome that you desired. Right? So now we have to start being conscious with our thoughts. And being conscious with our thoughts is the conversation, first of all, the conversation that we're having with ourselves. What is that conversation we're having with ourselves? Until you can control that conversation, that response that you need to have to any event that's going on, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging because we're having these thoughts, and every time we have these negative thoughts because some type of event took place, our mind is having this thought, we are listening. So when you have that thought, you're listening. You cannot be wrong to yourself. So when you have a negative thought, or you think that something's not going your way, or you think that things are not going in a way that you desired originally, you can't be wrong to yourself. So if you think that things are going bad, your unconscious mind is going to kick in and say, you know what? You're right. We're going to prove to you that it's not going your way. So it's going to blind you to things that could help you get out of that situation. It's going to shut down your logical thinking and try to take over and just have reaction after reaction so that you see that things are not going your way. So here we have to be conscious of, we have to gain consciousness of our unconscious thoughts. The things that we're saying to ourselves. That conversation that we're saying to ourselves. Because this little thing here, well, not little, but this thing here, your brain. This is my golden brain, guys. This is from Shantae Javon Taylor for taking her neuroscience course. So thank you, Shantae. I appreciate this. But this, your brain is so phenomenal that it will actually work for you or work against you. So until we are at a point where we learn how to control this phenomenal machinery that we have in our head, we may be off course all the time. Or we may be just walking around life trying to hope and pray that we end up where we want to, or we end up in a place that's desirable. Instead of going on the hope and wishes, instead of going on luck, or what people consider luck, I want to help you get to the point where you're consciously thinking yourself into your ideal situation, because you can. And I know a lot of people will say, Darius, it's always something that's going on. It's always going to be something. Yes, life is a series of pop quizzes. Life is a series of pop quizzes. Every day, there's a new quiz. And I say it's a pop quiz because you don't get to study. You don't know when the quiz is coming. So the quiz may be that event that you've gone through. How you respond to that quiz, how you respond to that event will determine if you fail or you pass the quiz. And we have these things happen every single day. There's a pop quiz every single day. Every day. Today is Monday, right? Today is Monday. Most people went back to work today. And I'm sure there was something that happened that you were not expecting. Maybe your boss called a meeting. Maybe something happened on your commute. Maybe you didn't even get to eat lunch when you're supposed to. Something. That was just a little pop quiz to see how you're going to respond. Because all of those little things are going to happen every single day. How you respond to that is going to be what determines what the end of the day looks like for you. What the results are for your life. What the results are for your life. So, now let me ask you a question. Let me ask you this question again. Who's responsible for your life? Who's responsible? Should be you. Your answer should be you. And it is you. And once you understand and you recognize that and you take that to heart, now it's time we can actually go to work. Now it's time we can really start to plow and start to make the path to get to where we want to go. Until you are the one that's responsible and you are taking the responsibility of whatever's going on, you're always going to feel like life is happening to you. Life is happening to you instead of life is happening for you. So are you sitting there thinking that, man, this stuff keeps happening to me? Why is it always me? Why does stuff like this always happen to me? You ever thought that? You ever sat and said, why me? Right? My question is, why not you? You go through what you go through so that you can get to the place that you need to be. God is going to put you in certain situations. The universe is going to put you in certain situations to get you ready for what it is that you are here for. Now, you can either run from those things and hide from those things, or you can step up and say, okay, this is the event that happened. I know I want to get to this particular point. Let me do what I need to do to get to that point. Let me take the choices let me make the decisions that will move me in that direction. But here's the biggest issue that I see most people have with this, is that it requires you to get out of your comfort zone. Yep. It requires you to get out of that routine that you're in that may not even be moving you in the direction that you want to go in. So think about that for a second. You're doing things to avoid pain, right? We're doing things to avoid being uncomfortable. We're doing things to avoid the uneasiness. We're doing things all the time to avoid all of these things that we say we don't want. But in the midst of doing that, what you're actually doing is taking all of your energy, your focus, and your attention, and you're putting it on all of the things that you say you don't want. Here's what happens. Wherever your focus goes, your energy flows. So if you're focused on all of the things that you don't want, all of your energy, all of your effort is going to go into all the things that you don't want. It's going to go into the things that you say you're trying to avoid. I use this analogy all the time. If you cut a butterfly out of the cocoon, it will never fly. It will never be the beautiful, graceful creature that God designed it to be. In order for the butterfly to be that graceful creature, the butterfly needs to struggle to get out of the cocoon. That is an event that it cannot bypass, it cannot get around, it actually cannot even have help to get out of that situation in order for it to be what it is designed to be. Now, I'll tell you that story because some of you right now, some of you are in your cocoon. And while you're in the cocoon, instead of doing what you need to do to get out, building the strength that you need once you're out, and doing the things that are necessary to get to that next level, you're looking for somebody to cut you out of the cocoon. You're looking for somebody to come and just save the day. We're looking for that rescue. Here's something I think is really interesting, right? This is interesting to me. A couple weeks ago, the Powerball and the Mega Million were like record highs, right? $1 billion for the Powerball or the Mega Million, one of them. And the other one was like $800,000, $900,000. So many people went out and bought tickets hoping that they would win the Powerball or the Mega Million, right? And I was one of those people that would usually go out when it gets to that point, I would go out and buy a ticket. Now, when I think about that, that's like trying to find somebody to cut you out of the cocoon. Because I don't want to do the work to get where I want to be. I'm tired of the struggle. I'm tired of going through the hardship. I'm tired of going through all the stuff that's not seemingly not working the way that I want. So if I hit the Powerball, I'm good, right? I'm good. I'm set for life. And that is just like someone cutting you out of the cocoon. And if they cut you out of the cocoon, see, when the butterfly is cut out of the cocoon, it doesn't have the strength in its wings to be able to fly. Most people, and studies have shown this, most people who win the Powerball or win lotteries like that, usually in 3 to 4 years, they're broke. Why? Why is that? If I had $1 million, $5 million, $20 million, there's no way I could be broke in 3, 4, 5 years. The thing is, you didn't do the work to earn that money. So you didn't develop the skills that you needed to keep that money. You didn't do what was necessary in the journey. You didn't bump your head. You didn't make the mistakes to understand how to take care of the money that someone just gave you. Same thing is in life. And same thing in everything that we do. If it just happens to us or happens for us without us going through that, just as easy as we got it, we will lose it. So I tell you all that to share with you this. Don't try to avoid the struggle. Taking responsibility for your life comes with struggle. Life, period, comes with struggle. You can't avoid the struggle. Just like the butterfly cannot avoid the struggle of getting out of the cocoon. So when you go out and you are going through your day-to-day and you're going through life and things happen, you have these events, the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to be conscious of the event. Acknowledge it. Recognize it. Say, okay, this just happened. You have to be conscious at this point because depending on what the event is, you may just automatically react. This is a process, so it's not going to happen perfectly every single time. You may react sometimes. We're human. We make mistakes. We have to be understanding of that. But when that event happens, I want you to pause. Even if you react, pause. Just remind yourself to pause. Think about what is the outcome that you want. And then from there, you have to kind of reverse engineer what your response is going to be. So we figure out what we want our outcome to be, and then we say, okay, what could I do right now? What actions can I take or not take, right? Because not taking an action is an action that I could do right now that will take me to the outcome that I desire. So if you can get to the point where we can start to just recognize the event, recognize that now that this has happened, I do have control over how I respond to that event. You have the ability to respond to the event. You have the ability to have 100% control over how you respond. But we're responding, not reacting. There's a difference. Remember, there's a difference. So a response requires thinking. So we're going to take a minute, think about what the outcome is, and now we're going to actually respond, take action, do something that's going to move us in the direction of the outcome that we want, as opposed to just reacting based on past experiences. When you have an experience that happens in your life, that experience gets stored in your memory. And in your RAS system, when you have that event happens, it gets stored. This is how I think of I want to give you a little image to have. So something happens. When we're born, let's go back. When you're born, it's like you're born with a clean whiteboard. Right? We've all seen the whiteboard where you can write on the whiteboard. We have this clean whiteboard. Every experience that we go through in life gets written down and recorded on that whiteboard. So we have an event, how we react to it, how we respond to it, all of that gets recorded on the whiteboard. So now we go through life, we have these things that are being recorded, and an event happens again. But this event is something that we've already gone through. So what our brain does, because our brain is lazy, right? It doesn't want to expend the energy if it doesn't have to. This is the reason why we have habits and why we create habits. And so we don't have to consciously think about how to respond or react. So we have this event that happens. It's similar, if not the same, as something that has happened in our past. So what our brain does is it says, okay, let me go to the whiteboard. Let me see if this event has happened before. If it has, how did we respond then? However we responded then, we need to respond the same way now. Because this removes us from having to think about it. All right? So you have all this stuff on your whiteboard. So if you're ever in a situation, you're like, why does this stuff keep happening to me? Or, you keep finding yourself going through the same type of situations. It's because instead of us now trying to erase the whiteboard of some of the reactions that we had or responses that we had in the past and create new ones, we just continue to fall back and let our unconscious mind continue to bring back into the forefront what we've done in the past. So if you keep finding yourself repeating the same experiences over and over again, and every time the experience happens, you do the same thing, you get the same result, you get the same outcome, it's now time to try to clear off that whiteboard. It's time to remove some of those things that we've done in the past and change how we move forward. This is transformation. This is going to take time. It's a matter of doing small steps repeatedly over time. So we have to take those small steps, and the first step is, how do we respond? When the event happens, take a moment, breathe, pause for a minute, and then think about what the outcome should be. So understand that. So when you're thinking, when these events happen, realize that, okay, my brain instinctively is going to go back to what I may have experienced in the past and then bring that stuff up to the front. and have me react the same way. Okay? So we're going to have to get uncomfortable, guys. You're going to have to. If there is something that you desire, if there is a goal that you have for yourself in your life, it's not going to come easy. I don't even know who said that. I don't even know why we think that it's going to be easy to achieve these things. It's not. Life itself is not easy. Right? So if we have this goal, if we have something that we want to achieve in life, it's not going to be easy. There is going to take work. It's going to take us being uncomfortable. We have to be okay with that. Part of us taking 100% responsibility is us taking on the mindset of, I'm okay with the struggle. I'm okay with how things come up. I'm okay with what may have happened, and I'm okay with taking a minute and responding as opposed to reacting. You are responsible, 100% responsible for your life. There's no one else to blame. There's no one else to look for. There's no one else that has that job. It's yours. Here's something else to think about. And I want you to kind of marinate on this for a second. Right now, at this moment, there is no one, no group, no committee, or anything like that going on right now with people saying, how can we make their life better? Now, that's the interesting part about that, is that tomorrow's election day for these midterms. Even with those folks that you're going to go vote for, and I'm encouraging you to go vote, but they're not having a meeting thinking about you specifically, saying, how can they make your life better? There's nobody doing that. So that means that it's your responsibility to have that meeting with yourself. Right? It is up to you to have a meeting with yourself and decide how you want your life to go. Decide what are the things that you want out of your life. And it all starts with how we think. See, that's going to be an internal conversation. That's going to be based on our thinking and how our unconscious mind has been programmed in order for us to get to the position where we're starting to do the things to move us in the direction that we want to go. It all starts with your thoughts. It all starts with how are you thinking? What are you thinking? Right? And are you thinking things that is going to push you into the direction that you want to go? So think about that. We're going to take a small break. We're going to come back and we're going to wrap up the show, and I want to share some things with you. And this is one of the things that we're going to do every week. I'm going to have a segment called What Now? And this is also what I have in the book that a lot of people are very excited about within the book, is the What Now section at the end of every chapter. And this just gives you some tangible steps that you can start to implement into your life now and start moving in the direction that you want to go in. So as far as what we're talking about tonight, taking 100% responsibility, we're going to come back and I'm going to give you about 3 things that you can start to implement now in your life to start taking 100% responsibility for your life. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
So we're all excited now because Darius has written his first book. Yes.
So, if you are in a situation that is not going in the direction that you want to go, it's not moving you into what you thought the life you were going to have should be. One of the things that I want to let you know is that at any point in time, you can change. But it starts with first making a decision and then changing how you think. So, in our What Now section, our What Now segment here, what now? What can we do? What can you do? What can you start to implement in things that you can take, small steps that you can take to start moving in that direction? First thing is identify. Identify the event. Identify what's holding you back. Identify the negative thoughts that you may be having. What situation or how is the way you're viewing your situation holding you back? See, again, I want you to challenge your thinking. So we may be in situations, or you may find yourself in a situation where you need to reframe what's going on. That is part of identifying the situation that you're in. So identify the situation. Be honest with yourself where you are right now. Identify that. Number 2, own it. Own it. Own the situation. Take 100% responsibility. You start by owning that. Once you identify it, now own it. Stop placing blame, Figure out how you may have gotten into that situation. See, this is a challenge for most people because they don't want to think that they played a part in getting into the situation that they're in. But you had something to do with that, right? May not be a big part, but you had something to do with that. So identify what your situation is. Own that situation. And then the third step is take action. Take action that will now start to move you in the direction that you want to go. Understand this, that action does not have to be a huge, gigantic step. This is not one action step that's going to remedy everything and fix everything. No, it's small steps. Take a small step to move you in that direction. So you may have lost your job. Just using that as an example because that's the one I shared earlier. The small step may be, okay, is this still the career I want to be in? Think about that. Is there something else that I want to do? That first step may be, do I want to do something different with my life now? The small step may be putting your resume out if you're going to look for another job. The small step may be in deciding on if there's a passion that you have that could be a business that you can run. So right now, when we start looking at life and saying we're going to take 100% responsibility, 3 things that we can do. The first thing we need to do is identify the situation that we're in. Second thing is own that situation. Don't try to blame somebody else. Don't try to put it off that it's somebody else's responsibility. Own it. It's your life. Own it. This is where I am. This is the space that I'm in. And then thirdly, take some action. Take some action to say, this is the place that I'm in, but I want to be over here. So now let's take a step to move in that direction. So guys, starting today, let's take 100% responsibility for our life. Take 100% responsibility for your life. It starts with your thinking. And understand this. You are the only one that can have that responsibility. Your life is no one else's responsibility. You are the only one that can have that responsibility. So make sure you join the group #WiseWordsWithDarius on Facebook. And I want to continue the conversation because I know a lot of the things are challenging. It's a lot of different thoughts that we're going to talk about on this show. So I hope you stay with me, share it out so people can join the conversation, because we're going to talk about challenging some of those thoughts and beliefs that you have every week. And this is only going to put you in a better situation. I took that hard, long road years ago because I kept finding myself in terrible situations that I didn't want to be in. Terrible debt, bouncing back and forth between where I was living with my parents. I get my own place, things that go wrong, I go back home. So all of these things are things that I have done and that I've been through. And I want to share how I got through a lot of those things with you, and have you share a lot of the things that you may have done to get over situations as well, so we can help each other. This is a journey for all of us to transform and become the people that we're destined to be. Have the life that we desire to have. So I want to thank you for joining me. If you don't have the book, you can get the book on Amazon.com. It is in the paperback as well as the Kindle version. You also can join me and go to my website, which is iamdariuswise.com, to make sure you can keep up with everything that we have going on, the book, some other products that we have coming out. We also have done the audio right here at WBGR Studios. So we're finishing up the edits on that. So that will be out very soon. So be ready for the audio for those who are, who are audio, like Audible, and rather listen than actually read it, which is fine because I'm one of those people. That's coming out as well. But we're going to go through. Now, I want to tee up next week. So I hope this brought value to you. I hope you got something out of just, if nothing else, just to change your thinking. I do want you to take one thing away from all of this that can help you moving forward in conjunction with the what now action steps. That thing that I want you to take is the formula E plus R equals O. So whatever the event is, remember your response is what's going to determine the outcome. So E plus R equals O. So take that with you. But next week, I'm really excited about next week, guys. Make sure you join me. I am going to have a guest with me next week that I love dearly. Next week, my grandmother is going to join me. Yes, Frances Simons will be here. My grandmother just turned 91 on the 3rd. 91. Still got all her faculties. We're going to actually have a conversation next week just to talk about how she feels that she got to 91. She still drives. She still does all the things that she was doing many, many years ago. And I want her to kind of share with all of us, just what she thinks it is that helped her get to that point. So you don't want to miss next week. So mark your calendar, Monday, 8:30 p.m., right here on Facebook Live. We are going to go in, and I'm going to have my grandmother come out and just share some things. Plus, she's a beautiful spirit, and I love this woman. So make sure you join us next week. Guys, I appreciate you coming. Happy Monday to you, and I will see you next week. And always remember, greatness begins with one wise decision. So have a great evening, guys. Have a phenomenal week, and I will see you next Monday. Get your book. We're going to start going through the book. Have a great evening, guys.